Hi, it's Roger here with episode 22 of Entrepreneur TV. So if you have not yet subscribed for weekly updates on how you go about growing your business, you can subscribe here. And for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. This is our Q&A episode number 2 because we had so many questions the other week. We are kind of extending it into the second video. And in the video, I'm also going to be sharing at the end of the video something super special. Put a date in your diary, which is in 2 weeks' time. Thursday, the 2nd of April, I'm going to have a very special announcement about our mastermind program. There's going to be a special for a number of you who'd like to be a part of it. There's going to be additional scholarships, which I'm going to share in that as well. So stay tuned for that. We've got that coming up. And that's going to also coincide with my trip to Necker Island with Richard Branson and a group of amazing entrepreneurs, where that'll all become part and parcel of my updates within the mastermind in April, May, and June. So what I'm going to do on this call is I'm going to be focusing at questions from around the world. I am in Brisbane right now. I'm on this tour of Australia. We just had our Perth event, so thank you everyone who joined that. It was awesome, and we are now in Brisbane where we're going to have a 2-day event coming up here as well. I'm here in my hotel room at the moment doing this video and hearing from you from all around the world. So who do we have here? We have, first of all, Jack Davies from Cardiff in Wales, and he has a company called Cardiff Electrics. And his question is, how do you go from just being a part of a busy market competing with others to being seen as the company for your service in your area or industry, taking the step from being one of a number of businesses to being the number one business? Okay, so this is on the one hand about mindset, because remember, your business is just a mirror of yourself. So if you're at orange level, which means you're the worker working every day to try and find business, you're chasing the ball in the game of football. You know, you're not in anyone's team yet. You never catch the ball because it's always going too fast. And you're never in the opening where the ball comes your way. So that's action, right? Yellow level, when you're the players, when you have a position, people know where you stand, and as a result, they're passing you the ball, and that means that the ball's coming your way instead of you having to chase it, and you're in the opening, you're in the gap in the market, right? And that's the difference of you being the person who is out chasing the ball and being the one who's working on action, as opposed to you being the one standing in one place, and that's attraction, right? Now, the key is knowing that there is one step in the middle, action, attraction. The middle one is traction. It's actually what are the gears that you're moving for to get there. And to answer your question, always to get traction, you need to zoom in not to what is the product you're going to sell that's going to make you unique. It's what the problem is that you're solving in the best way that makes you unique, that makes you number one. So I'll give you an example. In your industry, in Jack's industry, he's in electrics, right, which is a dying industry. You can go back in time and you can find that there were specific electricians like the ones who would put in your landline in your home, where most of them have disappeared. But why is that? Well, in the electrics industry, electrics are now in everything, and everyone knows how to service your whatever it is that you have. So for example, if it's a computer, you know, if my computer breaks down, I'm not going to go to an electrician. I'm going to go to whoever is the manufacturer and the service center for that computer. You know, if I have an electric car, I'm not going to go to an electrician. I'm going to go specifically to that person who can supply me with that car, and same with solar panels, and so it goes on, right? What we have today is a very different market. So you need to niche, and you need to niche on what is the customers I'd love to work with, and what's the problem I'd love to solve. So for example, you could get into something like smart homes, where a company like Nest, which was only created a few years ago to do like smart thermostats, which could save up to 50% of the energy in your house by kind of attaching to your phone and learning as it goes, that was sold to Google for over $3 billion within 2 years. And that was someone who just understood product design and electrics, right? Or if you take an example like electric cars, right? You might not start straight away with a service that's supporting electric cars. It could be a service selling drones, you know. It could be a service selling, you know, your videos for homes, and something which then links into connecting in with the smart home, and then connecting in also with electric cars as they start showing up more and more. So get onto a wave that's growing, as opposed to trying to surf a wave which is already broken. And make sure you're niching in a very specific area where you're solving a specific problem, and you can always be number one, okay? That's for Jack. Secondly, Tam Bennett in Durban, South Africa. My question is a statement and invitation of comment, really. When the majority, by a huge margin, of our clients are below the breadline, so they're not earning so much, it's tough to make appropriate services available to them at little cost. They need money to pay for services. We need money to get the services to them. Providing services to the minority who can pay is doable, but it doesn't solve the challenge of making the world a better one for all. So is this a stalemate? We are living in an incredible world today where there are many, many clever precedents of people who have figured out this one problem. And the first step to figuring it out is realizing that your customer is not always the one who has to pay. So separate out your customer into who is my customer and who is my sponsor. All right, so who's my customer is the one who's going to consume the product and who loves the product. Who's my sponsor is the one paying for it. Facebook, YouTube, we use these things for free, but we're still the customer of Facebook and YouTube. However, the person who's sponsoring that tends to be the advertiser in those cases. So let's take a couple of examples. If I was to look at an issue, which is a major issue today, which is teenagers leaving school and not having a job, there are a number of different programs that are now being created which allows those same teenagers to get the training, the education beyond what they're getting at school to get clarity in where they're at. We run something which is called Talent Dynamics for Young People, which does exactly that. But we don't get the students to pay, which is a difficult thing to do, or even the parents. We get companies to pay. We go to companies in local areas where we have schools that are participating. We say to the companies, we're going to give you training. We're actually going to train you and give you value. So they're the sponsors, but they're not being sponsored just because they're giving money in a charitable way. They're actually getting a great product for themselves. We'll give you the training and you'll all become better leaders. And in the same way, we'll give that same training, which is about knowing your talents, knowing your passions, knowing how to build trust within your team. And we're going to also give that to the teenagers in the area. Now, how cool is that? It means that you actually are giving and getting at the same time. Or another example is someone like Richard Alderson, who is one of our Crystal Circle members. And he is a social entrepreneur. He had this passion for helping companies in India. And so he created something called Journeys for Change. And the way Journeys for Change works is he appeals to the leaders in places like Europe and America who want to go out and improve their own business and understand how social entrepreneurship works. They pay for these programs to go on these journeys to India. When they go on the journeys, they're getting the value from that journey, but part of it is that they're actually going out there and they're doing some charitable work, they're getting connected in with the local entrepreneurs, and then there's investment opportunities, and that benefits all the local entrepreneurs as well. It's like a win-win. But you're not going to people just as charity. You're going to people giving them a product that's a sponsor in such a way that they are a customer at the one level, and then their money is also going to contribute to something else, which happens to be those people who cannot afford to pay, and then you can go out, transform the world. There are platforms like Kiva, which is for microfinancing, like Indiegogo, which is crowdfunding, all of them full of purpose-driven projects, like Buy One, Give One, which actually connects companies with charities, so that whether you're looking from the charity side or whether you're looking for the company making a difference, it's all there. You just need to know where's the entry flow, where's the exit flow, connect them together. Megan Harris. Hi, Roger. Megan Harris from America. I have benefited immensely from your videos. Awesome, Megan. In fact, we use them every Monday for our staff meetings. That's cool. As motivation and inspiration on how to be better. My question to you is, what advice would you give on how to change old beliefs and mindsets to truly believe you can have the life you want for a star creator profile? Yeah, people ask this all the time. It's like, okay, all right, so I have the plan, but how do I actually get the belief to do this? There's an old school, I call it old school because really the last 10, 15 years kind of has become pretty old school because things are growing so quickly. There's an old school strategy, which is that it's all internal, right? You've got to kind of like figure it all out in your head, and you've got to, pre-program your thinking, and you've got to kind of motivate yourself in specific ways that allow you to have this belief. I look at it the other way around. I look at it from the point of view of the external environment. I know that the times I've been most motivated in life is when I'm surrounded by other people who are similarly motivated. And every one of us can shift that environment immediately. Not maybe 24 hours a day, but at least an hour a day or 2 hours a day by getting connected in with the right groups. However, there's a second part, which is who is your internal mentor as someone who's external, meaning someone who's in your imagination, and that person in your imagination is advising you every day. Because really there's two people that exist, two things that we do as human beings that animals don't do. One of them is something called memory, at a level where we actually can create a knowledge base and we can create a body of knowledge, which is how civilizations grow. Animals don't do that, which is why they don't have that same key as us. But memory, the stronger your memory, the stronger how much you remember your past self. So every day we have a past self that shows up, and that person's the one who maybe says, well, that isn't so easy, or that isn't so possible. And so if every day you're saying, well, should I do this or not? And you're asking that part of you, that little voice in your head, which is your past self, the past self is going to keep on holding you back or taking you back to your past. There's a second person, which is your future self. And this is the second faculty we have as human beings, which is our vision. And we can actually envision the future we can envision who would you want to be 5 years from now? 5 years from now, if you could really just imagine yourself as that person, and in all the parallel universes of every kind of person you could be, you're choosing now deliberately what that person would look like, what they would feel like, what they'd be doing with their lives. And the clearer you can become on that, and we've got processes. If you go back on these video series, you'll see those processes. We've got processes you can follow to actually create that future self so that your vision becomes stronger than your memory. By the way, that future self clearly is someone who is motivated because that's the only way they got there. They clearly had belief because otherwise they couldn't be there. If you're climbing a mountain, you don't go asking the person below you how to get up because they can't see. You ask the person above you, how did they get up there? So you can always see the way up the mountain from the top in a way you can't from the bottom. And so as a result of that and that whole key way of thinking, number one, get into the right environment instead of trying to just motivate yourself. And secondly, don't use your present self or your past self to try and motivate yourself. Use your future self. Get really clear on what that person looks like and ask them, I have a future Roger. And I'll be like, okay, so future Roger, what should I do in this situation? And it's pretty obvious each time what I should do to end up meeting that person further up the mountain as well. All right, so keep that in mind. Lassau in Germany. Wow, we've got a very international group today. Congratulations to your success, Roger. Well deserved. Thank you. As it turns out, I'm a steel mechanic with the tyrant of a dynamo part. Adding to that, the passion test shows a result of 60% why, which is spirit energy, 40% how, which is metal energy. So this finally explains my lifelong dilemma. Thank you. Okay, great. I have a question concerning the concept of market segmentation. If this is good. This is quite a specific one. If I have a group of fictional characters at my disposal, think like Peanuts or Garfield, right? So cartoon characters, who are rapidly gaining a devoted fan base. How could I develop products for what you call VIP or platinum customers? The multiplication part is easy. So we talk about all leverage is either multiply, which is make it simple and make many, or it is magnify, which is make it complex, make it only one. So that's easy. I do blog posts for free. The convenience of having them in a book would cost a bit. And then one could have high quality prints and such like maybe. All of this could be multiplied, validating along the way. Okay, so that's fine. So you get that. But how would you magnify this? The way I see it, a set of fictional characters could be magnified only through licensing to movies, theme parks, but that's so far out. Or an alternative could be to have them relate to specific topics, magnify those topics, like, Gaping Void is targeting entrepreneurs and businesses. Or is it my still-like mind that cannot see the obvious? Yes, it is a still-like mind not seeing the obvious. Here's the thing. When you've got creative work, the way to magnify it is really the way that we're seeing more and more people now magnify at a much, much, much higher level. Think about someone who's an artist. And it sounds like you're an artist. You could be an artist by devaluing down to something that is now available to many people, and you'd actually go out and send that to everyone. Or you could do what actually the most famous artists do, which is to have one original, and that masterpiece becomes worth millions. So we are actually moving this way, and we're moving this way in terms of books that are being written. I personally believe we'll be in the future in a position where some of the best authors are the ones who write a book once, and there's an original of that book, and someone buys that book, right? I mean, this is exactly what Bill Gates did by actually buying Da Vinci's book, which is Letters Codex, which is all about flow, and he paid millions for that one book. I think the same is clearly happening in art already. When I'm in Bali, it happens in Bali where people will pay a lot more for something originally that's being carved than they would by just getting a copy. So we're kind of like with devalued copies, we all want that original. So absolutely, you could have original prints or actual original drawings that you're going to be paying to your highest level fans, and only they have access to it. You can have a fan club, which is what every artist and every musician has, where they're getting an experience which is different. They get to see things before other people. They get to actually get together in groups. You can even have live demonstrations, or you can go on a retreat somewhere you'd love to go on a holiday, somewhere you'd love to go and learn or find new things, which is one of the things I do. And we always bring a great group of people with us, and they're willing to pay good money for it because they want to be part of that experience as well. And a conference is an experience in itself as well. Think of things like Comic-Con. There's nothing which stops you from actually creating your own mini conference, which people would want to be a part of, so they can actually get an inside look into what you do and how you do it. And all these things are things that people are going to be willing, or a small number of people can be willing to pay an awful lot more for. So always allow yourself to do that, because frankly, that middle of the market, which is where you kind of like have people paying 500, 1,000, is really disappearing. People are wanting to either have things for free, or they're going to want to actually have an experience at a much, much higher level. Okay, we have a little Lemba Fury here from Zambia. Hi Roger, I'm a supporter profile at green level, focusing on getting to blue level in 2015. Okay, so we've gone from a a metal energy question. Now we're going into the fire energy question. With supporter profiles, our moment of wealth creation is developing the areas of greatest contribution by supporting wealth creators, right? Like supporters like Jack Welch from GE, Meg Whitman from Hewlett-Packard, Michael Eisner from Disney. So Lember's obviously written my Your Life, Your Legacy book. She's got all these different examples. How does one grow to blue level with multiple teams, owning multiple streams as a supporter? And are there examples of people who've done this? I'm following the steps in Millionaire Master Plan, but would love for you to touch on this for a supporter specifically. Well, okay, so remember, I'll do this for you, but I'll also do it for every profile. Because going from green to blue is going from you being the one creating success to you being the one that creates the conditions for success to happen. So for example, you know, when Steve Jobs was at green level, he was the one actually driving the product design. When he went up to blue level, it was other people's creations that came to him. You know, he didn't come up with the idea of the iPhone or the iPod. Others came to him. He attracted the best creators. Walt Disney, all of his best creations, he came off Mickey Mouse, but after that, pretty much everything else came from his other cartoonists that he attracted in, so he created the playground. So supporters do exactly the same thing. They create that playground for others to come out and play. And you know, great examples. You take someone like Meg Whitman, perfect example. So many of the people who are on eBay are all supporter profiles too. They all have their own team, their own business. She created tens of thousands of companies that were actually now part of her community, where she was making the money as a kind of umbrella company as eBay, and the one leading the charge as she was going along that way. You know, you start thinking about people like that. You know, think about Starbucks, another example. You know, where Howard Schultz, who's the head of Starbucks supporter profile, you know, he's going out and bringing love into like every one of the different Starbucks chains, and the managers there are able to build their own teams. So again, multiple teams, but then he has one holding team at the top, which happens to be the brand. And this is the same for every different profile. If you're a star, Oprah Winfrey has other stars coming to her Oprah Winfrey network now. You know, Donald Trump, a deal maker, has all the best deal makers come to him because they want to do deals with him as well. Every single one of these levels, at green level, is about how do you create that success. At blue level is how do you create the space for success to happen. Hope that's useful. Alan Van Zaal from South Africa. Hi, Roger. I simply can't wait to receive your weekly videos. Cool. I've shared with so many of my friends of mine, and they all have become fans. Great. And most times we find ourselves discussing your latest video clip over weekends while socializing. You definitely become a great starting up conversation with my circle of friends. We learn so much together. But that's awesome. And there's obviously been a couple of examples of that where people are sharing with others. Please do that. I mean, that's one of the reasons I do these videos, is to make sure we get this message out to really as many people as possible, because even just one little tidbit is enough for someone to really shift and transform their business. So my question, what would be your approach to rebranding for companies? Okay, interesting question. So it's not branding, it's rebranding, which means that at some point your brand is no longer connected in with your customer. So let me first of all go back to that whole idea of future vision. Like, how do we brand? I mean, we've had brands that have created in the last couple of years. Entrepreneurs Institute, which is our holding brand. We've got Wealth Dynamics, which has been around for some while, but is a brand, and now we've brought in the Genius Test, and we have Genius U. These are all product brands, which then become company brands. One thing that's really important, one of the most important things, is looking and saying, when I've got this idea for a brand, and most of the time it's best to do this in a team, if I have this idea for a brand, can I see this being something that fits my company 5 years from now? Which means thinking, what does that company look like? Who are your customers? You know, what is it that those customers are going to resonate with that brand? And sometimes it might be something that's descriptive, like Entrepreneurs Institute. You know, sometimes it might be something which allows them to be able to get connected in a way that they own the brand. So here's two ways that you can actually create a brand so that the people who are your customers own the brand. The first one is that you have the brand turn into a verb, right? So you can have something like Google. Basically, you can imagine someone saying, I'm Googling it, right? Or Snapchatting, right? You've got also words that come off the brand, like Twitter. I'll send a tweet, right? So again, it's about fundamentally creating something where the action of what they're going to do with you has a word. And so when they're talking to each other, they're using that brand as part of it, right? So think about that. Can my brand be used as a verb? And the second one is, can my brand be used as an identity? So when we have the Genius Test, you actually hear people talk to each other and saying, hey, what genius are you? You know, what's your genius? I'm a dynamo genius. Wealth Dynamics, I'm a creator profile. When people can own something, which again is a word, it's a language you've created, they're much more likely to use that and pass it on to others as well, as opposed to say, I bought a wealth dynamics test. They're actually saying, I'm going to create a profile. So you see the distinction in there is that you design it in such a way that you create that ownership, and then you create that story behind that brand, and that will be something that will be in one of our upcoming videos as well, as we're moving higher up the spectrum now. Amy Riccardi, thanks Roger for Genius You and Entrepreneur TV. I've seen every episode. Awesome. And I'm so happy that Fortune and Good Karma have brought your work into my world. I'm revamping my business to be a global mobile one. And my question to you is this. When moving a service business, in my case consulting, into a global platform, where is the best place to start? Geographically, I'm moving into Canada and have started this process, but now have you've seen service businesses spread globally. Is it more organic to go where you get the leads, or more purposeful to pick locations I want to work in? So thank you. It's like, which way do we go? So what I want to share is we are living in an amazing world where you need to separate out where you want to live and the lifestyle you want to have from who are the customers you want to support and work with and be number one for, because these two things can be coexist as two totally separate places. This is the whole key of a global business, is that you can actually run one from anywhere nowadays. So you don't have to start by saying, oh, I'm going to Canada, so what business can I run in Canada? You can run any business from anywhere in the world. So it's really, where do I want to live? Like, first of all, design your life. Where would I want to live? Where would I have a great lifestyle? Set that up independent of how you're going to make the money. And then when you go, okay, that's where I'd love to live. That's where it would be. And this is why. So you've got a really compelling reason. Then it's like, well, what would be the customers I'd love to serve? What would be the company that I'd want to design to solve a particular problem for a customer? And what would that look like? And who out there is doing something similar to that already? Because all the best people in the world already are looking for partners. So you bring those two things together. Okay, let me give you a couple of examples. Well, first example actually is from Lilemba, who asked the last question. Lilemba is in Zambia, but she's about to move to South Africa. And I know that because Lilemba is partners with Sandris, who is one of our partners who created the Trust Awards in Zambia, and he's now moving with her because her job takes her right now down to Cape Town. So he's also going to be moving down to Cape Town as well. But he's running something which is the Trust Awards all over Africa. So he can do that from anywhere. And he set up his business in a way that he could do it from anywhere. He set it up and started in Zambia. Now he's moving to Cape Town. He can move that business with him as well, right? So he's actually really clear. What I want to do is I have a mission to bring trust into companies in Africa. That allows him to then extend from one place to another, and he can move out of Africa and he'd still be able to do this. Second question, or second example would be someone like Monty Hook, who is one of our mentoring clients, and he he was a coach in Australia. And when we went through this process, he said, well, actually, I wouldn't want to live in Australia if I could live everywhere. I'd live in Bali, right? He now lives in Bali, by the way. So I live in Bali, and the business I would have would be an outsourcing business, because I can see a real need for coaches just like me to have their things outsourced. Someone does some websites, someone does their VA stuff. And so he got connected in with a group in Philippines, where he now has a team in the Philippines, several hundred people now. Within the last couple of years, he's built that. And he does go to the Philippines once in a while, but he can do so much remotely as well. He's got a great team in place as well. And so now he has a business in the Philippines with a market in Australia, and he lives in Bali. So remember, keep the two things separate, and then you're just looking for who else has done something similar, how do they do it, and you're following that pathway. Sarah Justine Packwood. Okay, a couple more questions here, then I'm going to come to my announcement. So Sarah says, thanks Roger, and many congratulations on 250k views, 250 days Entrepreneur TV. I am Sarah from London in the UK. I'm a Blaze genius, and I find your Entrepreneur TV series really valuable. Okay, that's awesome. This is, okay, let's see, let's get to the question. Two questions, okay. Question number one, geography. How important is geography? So we kind of talked a bit about geography already, right? In growing a business, i.e. being in the right place at the right time, and being mindful of the seasons. Okay, so seasons is an additional thing here, which is what cycle is the industry in, whatever industry you're in, and whatever country you're in as well. How can you tell us more about the clues you pick up on, as you mentioned a while ago, about how countries or cities can be at different seasons of flow, right? So how do you actually figure that out? Well, think about it. If you're actually thinking like, what's the season right now? What's the season that's about to go into? Almost always is by seeing what season just went through, right? You know that spring's coming if you're in the middle of winter. So you can always tell from where the season just was into where you're going. And the way I can tell when I'm looking at any industry is always the people who are making the most money at any one time are the ones who are riding that wave. So in the spring season of any industry, it's going to be the creators and stars making the money. By the time you get to the summer part, which is where it starts to kind of evolve, and now there's more people adopting that product or that service, then you start finding the supporters, deal makers are the ones who are making the most money. Once you've got enough companies everywhere that they're all starting to trade with each other and there's a marketplace of companies, that's when the traders and accumulators come in. And then you get to a point where everything becomes more kind of like consolidated, and companies start buying other companies up, and everything's now about efficiencies, and that's when the lords and mechanics start making all the money. So I can see just by watching that where things are going. Like in Australia at the moment, in Perth, they went through a really awesome summer and autumn, and now they're about to go into a winter. And we were talking about that at the event that we were just at as well. So the first thing is that's how you can tell. The second thing, reflection time. It's good to see you explain the steps for promotions and how and what you can learn from each step. Do you have any top tips for building a reflection time, which is spirit, it's the Y energy, to kind of like review and renew? And when do you and your teams do this? For me, it's easy for me to get lost in what they're doing. Yeah. Like, you know, if you don't have reflection time, that's like trying to swim without breathing, right? You have to have that time when you stop. Even like in a game of football, you have half time where you actually stop and say, how's this going? And the decisions that happen at that point by reviewing what's happened and then renewing your next step are huge, right? That's when all the critical moments happen. So there are 5 different rhythms that make up all the frequencies, and they do fit within 5 different frequencies as well. And you're going to see in the coming videos that I'm actually going to go through how all the best companies in the world split up these 5 frequencies, and they have different things happening at each time. So what are the frequencies? Well, the frequencies are actually designed and have been in our calendar all this time as a result of the sun and the moon, and just the way we've seen those. And it really starts with an annual frequency. You know, every one of our companies, we go away for a week to reflect and to review and renew every single year, and that's scheduled in ahead of time for every one of the companies, right? So that's like a week away for the whole key team. That's annual. And then from the annual, which is basically one sun cycle, you then basically get to the next level, which is quarterly. Quarterly is a season, you know, which is a quarter of the sun cycle. So this is where you actually now got that next step, where there's a number of things you want to be doing in terms of testing promotions, managing teams, and reflecting to say, did this quarter go the way we wanted it to? You know, every company in the world has to do quarterly reporting if that's part of a listed marketplace. And there's a reason for that. It's because annual gives you a vision and a picture, but it won't give you all the goals because you don't have to start them straight away. Quarterly, what you say you're going to do in the quarter, you got to start them straight away. So everything now gets connected in between the vision and the action. And that is where we go from basically taking dreams, turning them into reality. So then from the quarterly, which is again like the sun cycle, we then go down to monthly, which is the moon cycle. That's where it came from. And that was like the best estimation we had when we created the calendar for somehow fitting in these months into these quarters. And what happened with the moon cycle and the way that we're thinking about each month is that we're now looking at this from the point of view of what is it that we're actually learning about our promotions or what we're creating without having to replace all the people or having to change the strategy. What is it we're doing at that level? And we'll always have a monthly review. And we'll do that with each individual in the company. And then we'll then go down to the next step, which is the weekly. And weekly, again, obviously, just like with the sun, where it's one cycle and then you end up with basically 4 quarters, the weekly was the design of our calendars based on the 4 quarters of the moon cycle. And now you're down to a point where you're actually saying, right, what were the measures and milestones we set that we already set way back when we started the quarter? How are we doing against those? So you're either earning or learning. So you're always tracking every single week. This is what we said was going to happen. This is what actually happened. Here's the difference between the two. So we earned something, we learned something. And you keep moving forward by always tracking and getting better and better at predicting where you're going. And that leads to the final one, which is the daily, and the daily one, which is where we come back to the sun again, which is like every day the sun rises, and every day we actually go about tracking and seeing what are the measures on our flight deck. And again, I'll come into all of this, but the point is I have reviews with my team and with myself on every one of those 5 cycles, and there's a rhythm you can create which allows you to hear the music, and that's really what this is all about. And then finally, we have got here Catherine. So Catherine says, thank you, Roger. Happy celebrating. Well done. Keep up the great contributions, and I look forward to learning more with you in the future. Just curious, where were you first introduced to the I Ching through your mother? So a lot of you know that like our wealth dynamics and all of these 5 elements all link back to the I Ching, which is called the Book of Changes, which is in China. How deeply did you go into it before developing a business model around it? Well, that's a really interesting question. Actually, it wasn't my mom. My mom is Chinese, but this really came out of my education in Cambridge when we were looking at different cultures and how much every culture was different. You know, we looked back to ancient Greece, and when we looked at that compared to China, and I just started seeing these patterns that were occurring around the world, and that led me onto people like Carl Jung, who also saw patterns in our human psychology. And it was really a guess when I got very interested in the I Ching, not as a divining advice, but as a device, but as a platform that allowed us to create patterns. And basically, the whole idea of the I Ching is that there are these 64 like slices of time, a little bit like if you're in a game of football and you see somebody who like pauses the game and he says, right, so probably this will happen now, this will happen, and he talks about a gameplay. And then sure enough, when it starts up again, then that's what happens. Right? That's basically your ability to predict the next step because you've been here before, you've seen this step before, and everyone's organized, say, if this happens, we're going to go do this. So why that's so important is that all of success in life, you know, for you to get people investing in you, wanting to work with you, it comes down to your ability to predict what happens next. And the more you play your game, just like playing an instrument, the more you can predict where the music is going to go next, right? And everyone else can tune into that as well. So why is that so important? By understanding that's the point of the I Ching, is to just get really sensitive to time. As Buckminster Fuller says, what is controlled time? That's what shifts everything. And so Carl Jung actually was the first to publish the I Ching in the West. And he did that after Richard Wilhelm, the first person translator, connected up to him in the very early 1920s. And basically from there, you know, that led to all of the thinking that Carl Jung has today on psychometric testing, and that's led to things like MBTI and disc profiling and all those other ones you heard of. But the most important aspect of all of this is it links down to some core principles, which are the ones that I bring out in the Genius Test and in Wealth Dynamics as well. So what I'll do is I'll share a lot more of that. In fact, we even have a pack of 64 cards which link how everyone links to everyone else. And I'll be showing that as we get forward in these videos. And I'll also be talking more about that when I talk about the mastermind. And like I said, as a final thing to these, well, first of all, thank you to everyone who gave all those different questions in. Sorry I didn't get to all of them. I have others that I'll be getting to in the future Q&A as well. But thank you so much for the questions. Secondly, I really hope you got some great value just out of watching this video, and there's some specific things you can now action from what you heard. And thirdly, you know that every Thursday we're giving out a video. In 2 Thursdays time, which is on the 2nd of April, I'm going to be talking about the mastermind we have, where I would love for you to come and join me live every month in a program that we're going to be running, and that which allows you to get connected in with entrepreneurs all around the world, where I get to answer your questions live as well in a way that allows you to see the success stories, hold yourself accountable over this next year to be able to do all the things we're talking about in these videos. And I really hope a number of you come and join that. And of course, in the meantime, I'll be continuing with these videos. So keep tuning in, subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to catching up with you in the next video.